All right. Give them a little intro to the info.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So, Dave and Anthony from the Monzo Group, going on some Facebook Live stuff here. Dave got a threatening message from the Detroit Mafia today.
Intimidation tactics
From the city of Detroit, Michigan. Go ahead, Dave. Tell him a little bit about the ransom letter he received today.
So, you all know, we're investors in the Detroit business, specializing in holding properties and dealing with investors that like to buy and hold as well as flips.
Holding them tight.
Detroit is a super hot market. People are talking about it. People are coming here from all over the place, from Argentina to Tel Aviv to, Milwaukee to Miami to LA,
From Bangladesh.
Right, to Anthony's hometown of Oakland, California. So anyway, today I walk into my office and I open up my emails and I see official notice to landlords of unregistered rental properties as a subject line. And one of my emails from the city of Detroit, which to me, I'm like, I have to open this and see what it is. So most investors that are coming here, they're not instructed as to what you need to do to be in compliance with the city of Detroit in regard to rental properties. So they sent me an email today that says, "Good afternoon. As we start the new year, we want to remind landlords that the rental properties need to have their registrations renewed annually. Annually. That means every year.
That means once a year. For instance, Christmas is annual.
That's right. Rental registrations, renewal registrations, or change of ownership can be completed by going to a specific website and selecting step 1 registered property, which leads me to the conversation today about what it means to be compliant in the city of Detroit. And I think that a lot of investors come here from outside the city and they think, okay, I'm going to buy a property with tenants in there and I'm going to set it and forget it. I'm going to start making all this money. I'm going to get a huge return and everything's going to be great. And I'm going to get a cash paying tenant or a Section 8 tenant, and it's going to be automatic, and my life's going to be great.
Did you just shout out the guy with the turkey machine?
Yes. Set it and forget it. Ronco.
Register your Detroit properties, turkey.
So I think that a lot of people have a misconception that like you can just come here, buy a property with tenants in there, and you can just start making money, and as long as you pay the water bill and the taxes and all that, like you have no obligation. But that's not the truth. And a lot of agents,
you can come here and buy a property.
You can.
But then you're going to come to us because your property's not performing. And
right.
You're going to say, get me out of Detroit.
Right. So like all cities, they have a regulation process and they have people that drive around and they give you tickets for blight and for non-compliance and things like that. So in order for you to be able to hold a property in the city of Detroit, you have to understand the process of what it takes for you to be able to hold a property in compliance with the city to avoid fines. And there's 2 reasons for that, why you should do that. One, people as tenants are being instructed right now how to not pay you as their landlord, and you can't evict them if you're not in compliance.
And they work with the tenants. To save gas when having to drive around and give you tickets.
Right. So so the tenants will tip them off that you're not a compliant landlord. Because when you get your first non-compliance ticket, then the tenant knows, and there's signs in these neighborhoods that say, all properties in this zip code need to be rental compliant or certified. So they call this phone number on there and they explain to them what it means for them, and they tell them how they can pay their rent to escrow, and they stop paying you, and next thing you know, you're going through an eviction proceeding, and as you go into court, you're going to get a conversation with that court that says, once you get your property compliant, then you can come back and we'll talk about making the tenant pay rent.
I think it's fair to say that Detroit is #1 in the United States for tenant education.
Oh, yeah. We have some of the most educated tenants in the world, and that's fine because a good landlord wants to be compliant and do everything they have to do so they can hold property and have a healthy investment and not have to worry about any problems. Yeah. And then you have people who are always trying to beat the system and always trying to ride that line. So there's some things that you need to know as an investor if you want to buy and hold property in Detroit. And let's assume at this point it's all zip codes, not just the ones that they quote unquote say are on the clock, right? All of them are on the clock. It's just a matter of time before you get dinged. So what you need to do in order for you to hold property legally in Detroit is you need to have a registered rental. How do you do that? There's certain steps. The first step is you have to go and register the property online with the city of Detroit. The second step is you have to arrange for what they call arrange or schedule for what they call a rental inspection. And there's only so many companies that are allowed by BSeed in Detroit to perform these inspections to give you that clearance.
Yeah.
So when you go through that process, they send out an inspector, and that inspector is looking for health and safety
violations.
Violations and certain things that they deem acceptable for what you need to provide for your tenant and for your property to be safe and habitable for your tenant's well-being as well as your own. And some of those things are the doors in the house need to open and close as designed and latch. All the windows need to be able to open and close as designed, and they have to lock.
You cannot have plywood as a front door.
You can't have plywood as a front door, no. You have to have GFIs in certain places. You have to have
natural skylights.
Yeah, no natural skylights. You can't have any dangerous stuff. You can't have asbestos. You can't have security bars that are screwed and affixed to the exterior of the house where they're in a bedroom where someone cannot get out in case of a fire. So they have to have a quick release latch on the inside. You have to have smoke detectors.
That's a good one. A lot of people forget that one.
Right.
Because they go to protect their asset and they go to screw those bars on. And
right.
You're trapping your tenants in.
Yep.
So.
You can't have double-sided deadbolts on your security doors.
Nope.
And essentially it's like how a Section 8 inspection goes. We had a meeting last night where Section 8, Shina and Associates came in, and they said that when they send in a Section 8 inspector, the idea is as the inspector leaves the property, the tenant can then move in the property. So if the property is not ready to be certified as a Section 8 property, then the tenant can't live there and they won't pay you. It's the same thing with the rental certification process in Detroit. In order for you to place a tenant in there legitimately, you don't have to get the certification before the tenant's in there. In some cases, you're going to buy a property that will already have a tenant, but you still need to get compliant and go through that. So that's step one. You have to register. Step two is you have to arrange for the inspection. When you get the inspection, they're going to come through, run through a checklist, and they're going to check off the things you've done right, and they're always going to find a few things that you've done wrong, and the inspector is going to say, remedy these things and schedule for your second inspection. Now, when you pay for your rental inspection, that covers for them to do the initial inspection, and it covers for them to come back and do the secondary inspection, and if you need an inspection after that, then you have to pay for that. Normally, it's about $100 additional from the $159 you pay to set it up. Now, once you get that done and you're all rental certified, step two is to get your lead inspection. Now that runs about $500 to $600, but mostly in that $600 range. And when they come and do that, they come in with this handheld probe that looks similar to a breathalyzer, and they walk in and they literally, it's a 3-hour test. They touch every single wall, every single window ledge, every single ledger, board, everything inside and outside of the home that they can reasonably touch with that probe. And that probe is going to read trace levels of lead, and they have a certain tolerance that they want. And they're looking for peeling and chipping and cracking paint that's falling off. Yep. Now, even though you remedy that by scraping, wet sanding, and painting, metal material, drywall, window frames, all that stuff, that probe can still detect trace levels of lead that they deem is not acceptable, and they'll tell you that you need to remediate that to a certain level for them to pass that. Then they take a swab or a rag sort of thing, a wet wipe, and they wipe it on the floor, and they stick it in a test tube, and they send it over to a lab, and then that lab tests for that trace level on the floor. And it's a huge 3-hour process, and it costs a lot of money. And every single time I've done it, no matter what, even when I've completely renovated houses to the point where everything in the house was new, they've still found it on the floor or whatever, and they have to come back for a secondary test.
So real quick before Downer Dave here makes you decide to quit investing in Detroit, I would say that it's relatively painless, right? Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of stuff. Your first time doing it, you're probably going to hit and miss a couple times, but you're going to get in the swing of it. Listen, Detroit certification is is newer to Detroit, but this happens in all the cities.
Oh, yeah.
Like the enforcement is new. Let's say the enforcement is newer to Detroit, right? So your first couple of houses, if you're not a seasoned investor, the first couple of flips, if you try to get them to buy and hold and stuff like that, like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit bump and touch and go. But, you know, in fact, one of your investors, when we went to rent, it was a house on Chatsworth, and his was relatively painless. He had to scrape the windows and things like this. But so two things I wanted to point out. One is, although Dave makes it sound very daunting and very like unobtainable,
right?
It's actually pretty painless, right? It just like we talked with the Section 8 people and their inspections, just like we talked with rental certifications, C of O inspections. Listen, the bottom line is when you buy a house in Detroit or Warren or Roseville or anywhere, right? Stop skimping to save money on renovation stuff. And by that I don't mean like granite countertop stuff. I'm just saying, like, if the floor has to get done, do the floor. You know what I mean? Because here's the deal, right? An inspector in any city is less likely to put his nose to the grindstone and go touching everything in your house for 3 hours. Yeah. If he walks in and he's amazed by it, right, with the fresh paint and the good-looking floors, he's gonna look at you, because this is the objection, right? They're gonna look at you as a responsible landlord, a guy who puts time and effort into his house, and they want those people in Detroit and Warren and any of these places. So it's gonna be very minimal if you do what you're supposed to do as far as when renovation comes. Like I said, health and safety, right? So you can buy your own lead-based paint things, right, and touch a couple things, window seals and stuff like that, like some of the general areas, to try to eliminate some of the back and forth with inspections.
Well, and a lot of times, if you have a good rental inspector, he's going to come through and identify potential things that will not pass in the lead inspection. But at the end of the day, if you're interested in creating stable investments and you come in with the mentality, hey, I'm going to invest a few bucks to get this house stabilized, I'm going to put a tenant in there, and I know that when I provide that property to them and they're paying me rent, they don't have any ammunition to not pay me or say I'm a slumlord or say that I don't care about them or I don't
You're going to get your judgment. You're going to get your judgment.
Exactly.
Now, two questions I got for you, because you do a lot of this stuff and you got your crews, right? So is it fair to say that, like say, for instance, your crew that flips a lot of houses in Detroit, gets them ready for people that like to buy and hold, relatively easy for them to go in and understand what needs to be done?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Once you streamline it, it's not that difficult.
Yeah, and of course, as always, the problem in Detroit, a lot of guys that are newer investing, is finding good, reliable people, right? So shout out to Dave's boy, Gary. He helps me out a lot, too.
Right. There's also, like, in cities like Warren, where, like, Detroit is very consistent. Once you learn the process of the rental inspection, you can kind of go in and identify what you need to do, and you'll be pretty close. Whereas in a city like Warren, you'll get an inspector that'll come in and tell you to do A, B, and C, and then you'll get another inspector to come back to follow up on that, and they'll tell you that you need to do D, E, F, and G, and the first guy never even mentioned it, and you can't get like a general idea of exactly what they want. Whereas in Detroit, it's pretty standard, and it's not like they're asking you to put granite countertops in the kitchen,
health and safety,
install heated floors in the bathroom. We're just talking about making sure that windows and doors open and shut, and that there's smoke detectors, and that there's no faulty wiring or open exposed junction boxes, and that the panel is wired correctly, and the GFIs work, and that there's grounded outlets where there needs to be grounded outlets. If there's a 3-prong plug adapter.
What Dave's trying to say is the list is long. But
it's long.
But doable. So let me ask you this, Dave. Right? So as a guy who actually, like I said, helps flip and sell to people that want to buy and hold, right? What do you think value add to the sale of a house that's already rental certified, tenant or not, is already rental certified?
You're going to get a premium for a house that's already rental certified, because then the new buyer can truly set that and forget that and get the rental or get the security deposit at closing and get the rent prorations or a full rent value depending on when you close, and then they assume a tenanted property that is legit, that you don't have to worry about the tenant playing that game with you. And if you do your due diligence and you get, the rent rolls and you see the lease, and you see the tenant application and stuff, and you review that from a professional sense, and you understand what you need to have as a landlord, then you're going to have levels of success. Now, on the side of you being the guy selling the property to someone like that, you're going to get a premium for that property because they are omitting steps that you've now taken away that are worth something. Rental certification, lead certification is going to cost you about $750, plus to remediate whatever issues that they find may cost you, $200, $500, or $1,000, or $2,000. Depends on how bad of a job that the contractors did or how little knowledge that they have. But at the end of the day, that person has saved themselves all that time, which leads us to step 3. Step 3, after you complete the rental certification process and the lead certification process, you have to do a blight clearance. So basically all they do is they run to make sure there's no outstanding blight violations on the property. If there's none, you're good. If there is any, you have to clear those up, or you have to dispute them and try to get them removed. And once you get that, you send in your rental certification pass. They give you a form, shows that you passed. You send in your lead. They show you with a certificate that it passed, and you've completed the blight clearance. You send all that in, and then within 2 to 4 weeks, the city of Detroit will email you back your rental registration, and you're good to go. Which leads me to our conversation today. Most people, when they do go through that whole entire process, they don't understand that you still have to renew your rental registration annually. Right.
So that's the key word for today.
Right. So you can do all of those things and your house could be great and your tenant could be paying you, and then you could still get a $250 compliance ticket, non-compliance ticket. And the one thing I wanted to make everyone aware of is in the email they sent to me today, it says...
this message will self-destruct.
No, it also says, if you in bolded and underlined, if you have not renewed the registration for your rental property, please take time to do so to avoid the $250 tickets. These can be issued daily.
$250 daily.
$250 daily that will be issuing per property in the very near future.
So it's not like a parking ticket where once you get it, you just leave it on. You get to park the rest of the day.
You can't hide. Because they're going to come in a 16-passenger van sometime when it warms up in the spring. One of those big, long vans. Yeah, 16-passenger.
We like to call that a paddy wagon.
Right. They're going to come in the paddy wagon when the weather warms up, and what they're going to do is they're going to go in a certain neighborhood or zip code, and they're going to pull every single property transfer affidavit that is not assessed with a homestead exemption, and they're just going to start blanket issuing tickets and making you prove that your home is not a rental because they know it's not homesteaded. They know that you don't live there.
To be honest, they don't even, this is how crazy it is, right? They don't even have to put forth that effort because the moment your tenant in Detroit finds out your house is not rental certified, is the day you stop getting paid.
Right.
100%.
In a lot of cases.
100%. Because, like I said, they educate them so much. They literally have signs when you drive down the street that says, if the property you live in, speaking to tenants, if the property you live in is not rental certified, call us at this number.
Right. And what most people don't understand is the Section 8 inspection and the rental inspection do run concurrently now. So if you have that completed and you have a Section 8 tenant, you can present that. In most cases, they'll accept that as a rental inspection certification because at the end of the day, the Section 8 inspection is a lot more detail of an inspection, and they're looking for certain amenities and they're looking for a completely livable home. As I stated before, they want, when the inspector walks out, that the tenant could move in at that time. So these are some things that we are talking to people about because our knowledge of this market of Detroit is not only we want to get you to buy properties and start a portfolio, we want to make sure that you do that long term and omit yourself from certain doom that you will face if you don't. And there's agents that literally will find you a deal and they'll tell you it's great and you'll buy it and they will never mention this
walk
process.
away from you. They'll walk away from you. That's what they're going to do.
Right.
Or they'll keep selling it to you until you ask that question and then they don't know and then they walk away. So we've done a video on that before, how to vet your agents and things like that. Maybe we'll retouch now that we got the new GoPro 8.
Yeah, we have to make sure.
Black Live, right? But don't forget step 4, though.
What's that?
Step 4 is where you hire Anthony from the Monzo
Realtor
to rent it out, right?
Right.
So, But no, I mean, listen, the end result, it sounds daunting, and to be honest with you, you try to cut corners and you try to skate it, it is. You're going to get screwed. There's no way around it. The best thing to do is to liken it to like car insurance, right? It's a pain in the ass, you got pain in the butt, right? Sorry about that. Family friendly show. It's a pain in the butt, but I tell you what, dude, the day you smash your front end, worth every penny, right? So, as an investor, as people that hold assets in Detroit, you got to get this done. I mean, nowadays, a lot of property managements won't even fool with you or manage your property because they're automatically just going to have to go to court, right? The moment they take your property on, right? So, and if you think that's bad, I mean, this is another video, but C of O's are coming, dude.
They are coming.
Like a little shark, like Jaws. You know what I'm saying? Coming to take a bite out of your investor behind, right? So, and it's gonna sting in Detroit, but I mean, listen, these are things that go on in every city with all their. I mean, you got to build it into your formula, right? How much is it going to cost to do this? How much is it going to cost to do that? But when you do these things, like Dave said, your exit plan, right? Because especially in Detroit, let's face it, most people aren't holding Detroit or some of these properties for 20 years, right? It's just not having. Your exit plan is normally, I mean, what do you recommend? I usually say like 5 years, right?
Yeah, you should plan on
in and out 5 years. Like don't marry her, just date her for a while and then, then send her off with better memories, So
that's right.
But yeah, your exit plan is just is that much sweeter when somebody could just walk right in and buy an investment from you.
Right.
There's no haggling at the table. Dave's got a little wound on him today that's a little fresh, so we're not going to do the negotiation video.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that and lack of professionalism. What we are going to do is reiterate the point that we've made on several videos. If you're going to go in to a situation where you're going to purchase something, you don't walk into a place and say, hey, give me the third best salesman you have. You go in and you say, I want the best guy. And who are the best guys? We're the best guys. The Monzo Group, plural. The #1 real estate team in Michigan, Anthony Smith, Dave Rabior. We're out here doing what you want to do to fulfill your dreams and make them come true.
Too big to fail.
Right. And our motto here is investing knowledge in people as they invest their future in real estate, and we do abide and live by that. So if you guys are interested in doing something serious,
that was an instant motto right there.
That's right.
That just, ladies and gentlemen, you have just witnessed the birth, contractions, and then push and eventual birth of Dave's new motto.
No, that was stolen directly from Eric Monzo. Investing knowledge in people as they invest their future in real estate. That was supposed to be our team motto, but we already live by that. It's a code that we live by, and we are all realtors, so we also abide by the code of ethics as per our
in short, it's
board of realtors.
Relationships.
Right. So it's all about relationships. We're not interested in doing business with people on a one and done. We want long-term, fruitful relationships.
Right.
So as I stated before, don't go to the third best person. Go to the #1.
Yeah.
We are the #1 Monzo Group. Anthony Smith, Dave Rabior.
Third's the nerd with the hairy chest.
That's right. #Dealter. #the best realtor.
Hold on. Before we go though, let me show people in Facebook land a little something. Right. I'm on this new trip. Take a look at that time. What is it? 7:34.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to mention our competition, but what do you think they're doing right now?
Sleeping.
Snoozing.
You snooze.
Snoozing. You know what snoozing rhymes with? Losing. That's right.
And remember,
they hit you with a big fat hashtag. 7:34 at night. Where's your agent?
Where's your agent?
Hashtag where's your agent?
Where's this agent? Sitting in a lounge chair in front of granite countertops and a computer talking to you about things you need to know so that you can make money in real estate.
Let me show you guys something real quick here, right? Blooper reel going on. You see this right here? You see that granite countertop? That's right. That's what our boss E-Dub does to pass the Mount Clemens real estate office inspection. Okay, we got granite countertops. So if you guys are looking to join a real estate company that takes care of you and lets you place your closing docs on appropriate, I'm losing myself on this one. Yeah, but it's granite, fellas, right? The rest of you guys, you're working. I know why you went home at 5 o'clock. You're working on veneer mahogany. Okay,
laminate. Laminate. You gotta put the desk pad on there so you don't get the handwriting lines in the top of your desk. But anyway, we're signing off. It's been real. It's been
Why your
fun.
pen's poking holes through contracts? Right. You know what I mean?
Visit my website, Dave Buys Property. You can also search me on YouTube at Dave Buys Property. Subscribe at my YouTube channel. You'll learn literally everything you need to know about investing in real estate in general.
And what's the sign off? You can't spell Detroit without
ROI.
ROI.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.